to WTF, What the Fright, a podcast where horror/thriller movies that you may love or hate get sliced and diced. We gash these movies open from beginning to end, as well as analyzing any behind-the-scenes drama, if any. Every week on WTF, we will choose a movie that puts the fright in us. I'm your host, Buddy, and this is my wife.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
And today, it's kind of special just because it's been over a year since our original episode, and I actually went back and changed the name to that episode of just like an intro episode. We did Joyride 2001 with Paul Walker, which is a very good movie. And so we're going to try to get this ball rolling and this train moving. And we're doing the David Gordon Green trilogy these next 3 weeks. And it's a very controversial trilogy or installments in the Halloween universe, just basically because you either love them or you hate them. And that's especially the last one, Halloween Ends. You're either going to love it or hate it. But I do have a very soft spot for Halloween 2018. I know some people like it, some people hate it, but whenever it came out, I was working at a job I really didn't like, and I watched it almost every day on break. So I have really soft spot for this movie. So yeah, to my wife, what are your thoughts on Halloween 2018 before we get into the actual movie and the cast?
I think it's a good leap forward from the original first one that came out with Jamie Lee Curtis. It shows a really good leap forward and just the development and timeline, and it just makes it interesting. I would say that I would have loved to see a little bit, 20 years later, maybe, then 40 years later, just a little bit more with, Jamie Lee Curtis in it, just because I love Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, we do have a Halloween 20 years later movie, but that's a whole nother timeline.
With Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes, with Jamie Lee Curtis. You've seen it. But it's just because
I don't know, there's so many that I just
the Halloween series is very like its timeline is very weird and crazy with what they do and what gets done. But yes, they do. But we have the Halloween 2018, and then next week we'll be doing Halloween Kills, and then we will be doing Halloween Ends. We're not gonna get our thoughts on those two movies because that's just not what we're doing right now. But my thoughts on Halloween 2018, I do think it's a very good movie. Obviously there are some plot holes and everything, but that just comes with whenever you erase like other movies in the series. Like I really wish that we could have seen how this movie would have been if they had kept Halloween 2, where Laurie was actually Michael's sister, which in a sense is kind of goofy if you really think about it, but it would have been interesting to see what they would have done with the aspect of that, at least that movie added into it, because Laurie would have had like an extra part of trauma.
I wish that there could have been more to this timeline with Jamie Lee Curtis and Judy Greer and everything else. I would have loved to see the life of Judy Greer building up to this moment, because the way the movie is set up, it makes it seem like Michael is constantly after Laurie, but
he's not.
And so it contradicts a little bit, and it irks me so much, because it's like, oh yeah, I was right, and then oh no, am I wrong? Is he after her? No, it was just coincidental, right? These coincidental killings that just happen to happen the way that they do, but
for sure. Yeah, that's
I would have really loved to see more of Judy Greer's childhood leading up to this moment.
Well, I mean, it kind of explains it, and
it does, but
she gets taken away by social services at 12, so
yeah, I know, but I would have just loved to see
But Laurie is a nutcase, but understandably, obviously,
rightfully so.
Trauma, though, I understand. I'm not gonna, and I do feel like a question I was thinking of. Oh, how do you feel about how they treat Laurie in this movie? How her daughter and her granddaughter and people around her treat her?
Oh, it aggravates the shit out of me, because they're just expecting her to yeah, it happened 40 years ago. Move on from it, but the thing with trauma is like it doesn't just go away. It sticks with you for the rest of your life, but within varying degrees of certain time in your life, whether you put yourself through therapy, try your best to heal, and you move on from whatever happened, but in Laurie's case, she just never gave herself that chance to heal. Probably because she got pregnant at the wrong time with Karen. She didn't have time to stop and take care of herself. It's just PTSD, and it was very traumatic what Laurie went through. But I also understand Karen's like point of view, right? Like my whole life, for example, like if I was Karen, if I was a daughter, I would probably be thinking like, yeah, why was my mom not momming the right way to get her self-help so she could be the mom that I needed her to be,
Well, they kind of do touch on that point. 'Cause towards the end of the movie, you find out Karen's kind of low key a badass in a sense.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look who raised her.
uh, uh, for sure. So once we get into this movie or whatever, we're gonna go from beginning all the way to the end. And I've seen this movie plenty of times, but I did take like some like little notes here and there. That way, if I get lost in thought, I know where I can backtrack at. But we'll go over the cast real quick. We got Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously, as Laurie Strode. We got Judy Greer as Karen. We have James Jude Courtney as The Shape. I do honestly think...
What is The Shape?
Did you just ask me that? Go, get out.
It was an honest question.
The Shape is Michael Myers.
Why do they call him a shape?
The original concept...
He's not a shape. He's a character.
He's a kid, but the original concept
I'm
of Michael...
noob if y'all don't realize.
The original concept... If you think about it, Michael is like always like looming or whatever. They even kind of like show it at one point where Laurie is watching the bus transfer Michael, and she's drunk, and like in the window she sees like the shape.
Shadows.
Why would you call him the Shadow?
Is that what you're referring to? Is the shadows that make up Michael Myers?
It's the Shape. Like he's literally like. How do you not understand that? He's this figure.
But the Shape. Like, what? That's
this...
so fucking retarded. It's so fucking stupid. I don't understand it. The Shape?
Okay, well, for your sake, we'll call him Michael Myers.
Thank you. Multiple people have played his character in different timelines.
Yes, but I do think in my opinion, I do think James Jude Courtney is the best Michael Myers. Movement, the way he walks, his actions, and everything. I do think he's the best Michael Myers, in my opinion.
So it's the character. The character shit. Oh.
And then we have Nick Castle. I think Nick Castle might be in like a flashback. So and then we have the new doctor that replaces Dr. Loomis. I
thought Nick Castle was
he's the original Michael Myers.
Like the OG.
The OG. But we have Dr. Sartain. I don't know how to say his Haluk or whatever something. Then we have Will Patton. Everyone knows who Will Patton is. Will Patton's played in a bunch of movies as Officer Hawkins. Then we got Raina Reyes as Dana. She's not gonna be around. She's not around too long in this movie.
Who does she play?
She's the female podcaster.
Oh.
And then we have Jefferson Hall as Aaron Corey. He's the male podcaster. We have Ray, which is Allison's dad. We have Vicky, which is Allison's friend. We have Cameron Elam, which is Allison's boyfriend. We have the little smartass kid Julian.
Oh, he's so cute.
God, there's a lot of people in this cast, but some of these people don't even matter. We have
Brian Gregory. Who's Brian Gregory?
Father. Who the fuck's the father?
Click on it.
I don't care. We have Sheriff Barker as the sheriff, and you know he's the sheriff because he's the only one with the cowboy.
Fancy man in the cowboy hat, yes sir.
He's the only one with the cowboy hat on.
Kiss, my man.
And then yeah, it's just a quick rundown of some people in the cast. Some people you may notice, some people you may not. But really the most notable ones though are for sure Jamie Lee Curtis and Judy Greer and Will Patton.
I don't see the daughter on here.
Andy Manichekali, or this as Allison. I don't know why she doesn't have a picture.
I don't know.
But there's some other people in here too. And then we have Oscar, he's another friend. Stuff like that. We don't care too much about these people.
Lumpy.
So yeah, we don't care too much about these people. So let's just.
Who's Lumpy?
He's the little kid that Michael kills in the beginning.
Oh. You know that kid looks really familiar.
He also sounds like he has a smoker's cough.
No, but he looks really familiar.
He likes to dance.
But he looks like he's been in like other things. Like I feel like I've seen him before. Or maybe he just has like a really.
Maybe he just has a familiar face.
Every time we watch this movie, I stare at him all the time.
Okay, so
that sounds really creepy, y'all. But it's like.
Let's redact that statement. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get into this movie. And if you have any questions or thoughts, anything, please interject. So the movie opens up and just like some brooding music. We get like the little opening and stuff like that, and then we see these podcasters at the mental facility or whatever. They're waiting for Dr. Sartain, but Sartain's with a patient and some people, and so they end up introducing themselves to Michael, and Dr. Sartain is the new doctor. He was Loomis's understudy, and he took over after Loomis left or passed away or whatever happened to Loomis. I think Loomis just died of natural causes. Michael really didn't have that much effect on his life after a while.
Well, I think they should have just cut the cord after Loomis, man. They should have
just took him out to the pasture, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's also like Dr. Sartain's like Michael's been seen by like a million psychiatrists or whatever, and they all have the same thought, you know, like he's just evil.
He gets on my nerves.
And so then we have a lot of people hate this scene. Some people like it, but like whenever they go out to the courtyard or whatever, essentially, you have all these people standing on dots or squares that looks like a checkerboard tied to cinder blocks.
Yeah, their hands and feet are bound.
How do you feel about them standing on this checkerboard? Like, did it bother you? Do you think about it? And because I don't really think about it. I know I've listened to other podcasts and stuff. Even the podcast I listen to, the horror show, they definitely have a problem with this, and it makes me laugh every time. So I don't have a problem with it. But
wait. Like them being like bound, or just
no, just them standing on a checkerboard and stuff like that.
I mean, it makes sense,
but
you want to make sure that they have enough space between each other.
But they do have a line, whatever, and then Aaron is talking to Michael, and he's like, "Hey, he's like Michael, like I've come a long way to see you." Even Dr. Sartain is like, "Don't." He's like, Michael's very aware of like you being around and
stuff. Can I just
say
something?
What?
You know what? I'll say it after you're done, because I really need to express.
We're like 13 minutes in, and I'm trying to start the movie, and now you want to interject?
Just do it. Never mind. I'll wait until this part is over, because I really need to like express my feelings.
Okay, so somehow these podcasters get a hold of Michael Myers' mask, which would be in police evidence. Aaron is like, I got something from the Attorney General's office, which how he got this, I don't know. Maybe the petty moth, maybe
call him a friend.
Yeah, friend, and
but
so
technically they're not supposed to release it.
Yeah, so yeah, see, I don't. But and he's holding up behind Michael, and then you get all this intense music going. All the other patients start going crazy and everything, and then like Aaron's like telling Michael to say something. That's really a big concept of this movie. Between Aaron and Dr. Sartain, like they all want Michael to say something. Even Sartain says that Michael can talk, he just chooses not to. So and then he's like say something, and then we get the title card and the Halloween music and everything like that.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Okay, what's your thought?
What makes these fucking idiots think? I'm sorry. What makes these people think that he's going to just automatically talk after 40 years? And even then some with Dr. Loomis. Like, why can't they just leave shit alone? Okay?
Why are you looking at me?
Because you are a big supporter of Michael Myers. And
well, it's creepier that Michael just doesn't talk and he just kills people. I think that's
exactly
creepy. But these people don't understand that because they're idiots, like you said.
Then just leave shit. Oh my god. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna get back.
I just don't it's kind of like karma, and that's what I'm just gonna leave it at. I'm gonna let you continue on because
Okay, but even with the new title card, we got like a new like version of the Halloween theme, which I actually really enjoy, and it comes back even like stronger, like in a certain scene involving Allison. So we can thank Mr. John Carpenter for that, for composing that. And then we
thank you,
get
John.
but then we get the podcasters. They're driving over to Laurie's compound, and it's locked up tighter than the Pope's butthole. So
That is pretty tight.
but so and there's cameras, there's a gate, they have to buzz in to get in, and they're like, hey, we're like we've come a long way, we're investigative journalists or whatever. And
But I feel like you missed out like one good part.
what?
When the podcaster, the investigative journalist,
Mhm.
the dude, what was his name?
Aaron.
He pulled out the mask.
Uh-huh.
The dogs went crazy. All the other patients went crazy.
So quick question with that, do you think the mask means anything to Michael, or do you think that
the mask provides him a sense of self.
so you think it provides him a sense of self, so he does care about the mask?
The mask is his entity. Yeah.
Okay,
Do
so
you
so
remember-
do you think that the evil is within the mask, or the evil is within Michael himself?
He has made his identity with the mask. So once he puts that mask on, the more evil side of him comes out. I don't know. He's just an overall.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. But again, fucking idiots. Just leave shit alone. It's like bad juju, man.
So we get Allison and I mean not Allison, Laurie. They drive up to our house and they're like, hey, we're investigative journalists. And basically they have to pay to get in there because $3,000 because
Hell yeah.
Dana is like, how does $3,000 sound? I mean, you can come to my house and talk to me for $3,000. I ain't gonna tell you shit, but I get $3,000. And so basically they go in there, they start talking to Laurie, and they already know Laurie's backstory, so it's kind of like insulting to her, I feel like, what they do. But they're like, hey, we saw Michael today. We didn't get anything. Like, we'd like to see like
to help you move on.
Yeah, to help you move on.
Yeah, sure. Let me just park you right in front of your killer's face and body and to just rehash these good old times, man. Let's just sit and do that. We talk about it, express our feelings. Fuck that, bro. If I see oh no.
Okay, so and then they start
Be on site, man. I don't care. I may lose, but you know what? The motherfucker has got to die.
And then basically they're like, yeah, Aaron's like or Laurie's like, you don't believe in the boogeyman, and he's like, no. He's like, I believe in Michael Myers, deranged serial killer, but I don't believe in the boogeyman. And Laurie's like, okay, whatever, dude.
Say, well, you should.
And then they ask her about her daughter and like how social service came and took Karen when she was 12 or whatever, and that she was an unfit mother and stuff like that. And then they were like, when did you reclaim custody of your daughter? And she's like, I didn't, but you already knew that. So it's kind of insulting. They basically like spit in her face.
Oh, I'm telling you, like, these investigative journalists on this movie,
they're unbiased.
Yeah,
That's what they say.
They're unbiased, but they have no sense of feeling. Like, karma. Karma is all I have to say. Again, I'm a friend.
So,
I'm a friend of karma.
So then after this, they leave, and the story's like, I'll accept my payment. Then after this, we meet Allison, Karen, and Ray in the kitchen of their house. Ray is putting down mouse traps for the rats, I guess, in the house. Karen's cooking food. Allison is doing something before school. Ray gets peanut butter on his penis.
Oh.
I
Okay.
wouldn't say that out loud if I had it on. I wouldn't say that out loud.
It's kind of like Ray was just like getting really lost in the motion, like in his head. He was you need to add more context besides he's putting peanut butter on his peanut.
I didn't say he was putting. No, he was using the mouse traps, and the mouse trap went off, and the peanut butter.
You say mousetrap.
Yeah.
I kind of zoned out. I'm not gonna lie.
No, the peanut butter. He's not like just sitting here rubbing it on his
setting
self.
mouse traps.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Peanut butter accidentally dripped onto his crotch, and then I don't know.
And then they get
it. Just made shit weird.
And then Karen and Allison kind of get into it a little bit. Allison's like, "Hey, did you talk to Grandma about tonight or whatever?" And Karen's like, looks lost or whatever, and she's like, "Yeah, I did. We had a nice conversation."
Allison,
she's like, "Coming" or whatever.
Yeah, I will say at the beginning of the movie, Allison just has very mixed emotions when it comes to her grandmother, and I don't blame her. I don't. I really don't. She doesn't really know how to feel. She's feeding on what mom and dad are telling her, and then she's also feeding from what grandmother has been trying to tell them.
For sure.
It's just been like a generational thing almost.
Yeah, for sure. And then after that, we meet Vicky and Dave, which are Allison's friends. They're on their way walking to school or whatever, and Allison's talking to Vicky, and she's like, "Yeah, so my mom's a liar." Talking about what she's saying about her grandmother and stuff. And then Dave is like, "Hey, wasn't it her brother that killed all those people?" And they're like, Alice is like, "No, that's just a rumor some people made up to make themselves feel better," which is just a callback to Halloween 2, essentially. And to basically let people know, like, hey, this story does not involve them being brother and sister. And then Dave is also like, in the grand scheme of things, a dude killing a few people 40 years ago really isn't that big of a deal, which in a sense I understand what he's saying, but also in a sense it's kind of like an asshole thing to say, because Laurie was almost killed. But
personal.
It is for sure, but
it's not her family.
But
I'm insensitive dick.
But then Dave blows up a pumpkin. And then we meet. Then Allison's at school, and then we meet Cameron.
I like Dave.
We meet Cameron too. They're kissing and everything for a second, and then they're talking about. Allison's talking about how important tonight is, and that Cameron's like, "I thought you were just kidding when you said your parents were old-fashioned, or whatever." And then we meet Oscar at the same time, coming up as the weird best friend, kissing.
I really think he was gay. I think his character was secretly gay.
But he tries to make a move on Allison, though.
That's just probably because that's what he thought he had to do. I don't know. I don't know. He was just the weird.
He's the weird best friend.
He's the weird tag along.
Yeah, he's the weird third wheel. Yeah, so they're talking or whatever, and then we get a classic redone scene with Allison's in class. She looks out the window and sees her grandmother standing there. That'd be a little creepy seeing my grandmother standing outside.
Knowing my grandmother's background, if my grandmother is standing outside of my school watching me through the school window, basically guarding me, you bet your ass I would follow my grandmother.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be a little creepy?
No!
But that's just a homage to 1978 when Laurie looks out the window and sees Michael Myers standing there. And then after that, Allison and Laurie meet up. They're talking. Laurie gives Allison the $3,000 that she got from the podcasters. And it's like, hey, use this for whatever your heart desires. She's like, I can use it for college. And then she's like, fuck college, go to Mexico, which I wouldn't go to Mexico. I'd find somewhere else to go. But
I would like Ireland or something.
But yeah. And then Allison, like you said, she has mixed emotions about it, and she's basically tells Laurie, it's like, hey, Michael Myers, what happened, took over your life, it became your life, and like you lost your daughter in the process, and like basically she's like Allison's telling her like Michael Myers is obviously he's not dead, but basically she's saying like he's dead, get over it and move on.
Just get over it and move on. Okay. Granddaughter, you be stalked by a deranged serial killer who does this shit for just shits and giggles, like, and then get over it. Watch all of your close friends get slaughtered.
Well, she didn't see any of it, but
and get over it.
But yeah, essentially what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, she saw their dead bodies or heard about them.
And then obviously you see Laurie's emotional, and after that we get the scene of Laurie shooting her mannequins at her
But I will
compound.
stand by what I said earlier. Laurie could have plenty of opportunities to get help, but she didn't. So that part is on her. The rest of these motherfuckers can have some more.
But yeah, we see Laurie shooting her mannequins and everything, and then we get the scene of Michael being loaded onto the bus to transfer and everything, and Dr. Sartain is like, hey, Michael is still my patient and I'm gonna see my duty till the end, basically till Michael is into the arms of some other people, whatever you want to call it. And then my note says Sartan, and then sometimes it says Satan. It's funny.
That's the same fucking thing.
It's funny. And so Lori is also outside the facility watching. She has a gun. You see her drinking, and then at the same time she sees the bus leaving. She's crying, and then in her window you see the shade, the shadow that you call it. The shadow.
Okay, it's the.
You see the shape. He's a figure. It's
It's
because he's all black. Basically in the shadows he's all black, and you just see the white face.
Like the shape. The shape.
That was his original name in
Coming
the first
to
one.
you.
They didn't even call him Michael
3D.
Myers in the credits in the original one. They just called him the Shape. And then
calling the blob the blob.
did we see Allison with her family? They're at a restaurant. They're eating with Cameron. Allison got a reward for something, being a goody two-shoes student or something. I don't remember too much what her reward
When did
is.
she get a reward?
But she has the honor student or whatever, something. She has like the little thing that you get, the scarf or whatever you call it.
I wouldn't know. I never got one.
Yeah, me neither. I wasn't that smart. And then she also got like a little trophy. And then we learn a little bit about Cameron's dad, that he used to sell peyote to Ray and stuff. He tripped balls out in the woods with. So basically, like, Cameron's like, yeah,
Ray
cool.
was kind of being really intense.
Yeah, he was kind of. Ray's a
Cameron.
pussy. Okay, I'm sorry. He knows jujitsu and karate. He'll beat you up. But anyways,
The boyfriend was Cameron, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Cameron.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cameron. You can see Cameron's like, okay,
Cameron
cool.
looks like Nick Jonas.
I don't see him.
What?
But anyways,
I'm gonna have to
we
show you
see
something.
Allison calls out Karen again. It was like, hey, did you talk to Grandma? And she's like, yeah, we talked. She came to my office and we had a really nice chat, which is actually a deleted scene. That's actually a scene that they recorded, but it was deleted from the movie. That Laurie actually goes to Karen's office and they talk. Yeah, she says like, yeah, we had a really nice talk. And then she's about to be like, yeah, she's not coming. Then we see Laurie come. Laurie's obviously drunk. Laurie's like, hi, I'm the grandma. She's like, how did it go? And then she's like, yeah, I was an honor student, whatever, too. And then Laurie picks up the wine glass and starts drinking it, chugging it. And they're like, Laurie, she's like, what are you doing? And stuff like this. And then you see Laurie's very emotional. And then Karen's like, see, this is exactly why we don't reach out. Basically being like an a-hole to
I understand both sides. I mean, Laurie's condition basically like diminished Karen's childhood.
For
Karen
sure.
didn't have any normalcy in her childhood.
For sure. And then Allison's like, hey mom, like chill the fuck out. And then Laurie's like, yeah, I saw him as the shape. Okay, and then Laurie gets up, she runs off, because she's like, you can tell she's like panicking.
Is it playing?
Yeah, she's panicking and freaking out or whatever. And then Allison goes after her, hugs her and everything, and then
Now she wants to hold her. She just has very conflicted emotions about her grandmother.
right. And then Laurie leaves, and then Karen's talking to Allison, be like, hey, I never told you I spent my childhood. And she's telling her about the basement. She used to have nightmares of the basement and everything, and like she learned how to fight, shoot a gun, and all this kind of stuff, which, I mean, those are good things to know, but she learned them at a very young age.
She learned them as if it was like life and death.
For sure.
I mean, that is the ultimate goal of like learning self-defense, right? But like just so like extreme of like making like all this your life was like poor Karen.
Yeah, and then she talks about how the state came and took her away at 12, and like how Laurie's something something. But anyways,
Laurie something.
after that scene, we get this dad and the boy driving down the road or whatever, talking, and like the dad's like, you don't want to go hunting and fishing with your dad, and the boy's like, no, I'd really rather focus on dance. Which I honestly, I think the dad is one of those. He's one of those old people stuck in the old time. It's like, really dancing over hunting and fishing. It's like, let the boy do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, especially if it makes him happy.
He's like, it hits me in the heart. And then they see they almost run over one of the mental patients in the road, and then the dad gets out. He's like, hey, call 911. He's like, I'm gonna go see if anyone's been hurt or needs help.
Yeah, because they see the bus flipped over.
No, the bus isn't flipped over. The bus is just crashed in like the ditch or whatever. And then the boy gets out. He goes to look for his dad. He has a gun. He sees a cop. This is your warning signs. You see a cop bloodied laying on the ground. I'm out of there. Dad's done.
Fuck Dad.
Dad's done. But he sees that, and then he's calling for his dad, and then he walks out on the bus, and then instead of Dr. Sartain being like, hey, like, instead of him jumping out, he should have just like, hey, like, I need help. He should have been like, hey, I need help. But instead he jumps out and he's like, don't shoot. Obviously the kid shoots him. He's like, fuck. And then he runs to the car, and then Michael is already in the car, and he kills the kid, which Michael didn't have to do. He could have just already been in the car and just hauled off while the kid was over there. But I guess it's just to show Michael being pure evil, essentially, and he kills the kid. And then after that, we meet Will Patton's character, Frank. He's at a gas station where he was playing a pinball machine or whatever, and then he gets a call from dispatch saying that a call about a disturbance or whatever, or not disturbance, about the bus. And he goes to check it out, and then he automatically sees the officer down. He's like, I need assistance. There's officers down, and like, okay, we'll send assistance. And then Will Patton's character actually sees the boy's dad. Like, it's off-screen kill, and like his neck is like bent back. He looks like some like weird-looking character.
He looks like E.T.
What?
He looks
Okay.
the dad.
I guess.
The redneck dad.
I guess.
It's like his neck is all like cocked back, and he's like,
That's funny.
It's just...
But and then he opens up the back or whatever, and he sees Sartain, and then Sartain's like, did he get out? Did he get away? He's like, who or whatever. And then also too, we see that I didn't write this down, but I know it happens. We see Aaron and Dana at the cemetery, walking around with this. I don't know her name. It's this black lady. She'll show up in the Halloween Kills. She's the caretaker. Yeah, she's the caretaker. And then she sees Michael watching in the distance, because Michael is actually following them because he's trying to get his mask back. And then we see them at the gas station getting gas and everything. And then we see a vehicle approaching. Michael is like looming in the background in this whole scene. Like, you don't see him until he comes face to face with Dana, which I thought was pretty cool. And then
wait, remind me who Dana was.
Dana is the female podcaster. She's the one who needs to go to the loo.
Oh, they needed to go to the loo.
To the loo. Yeah, they're getting gas or whatever. And you hear like a wrench or something like fall or whatever. And then when Dana goes up to the gas station attendant, you see Michael in the background actually beating the shit out of this mechanic. And that's just so, you know, Michael can get his iconic outfit.
Is this the one he pantsed and then took all the teeth?
He took it. No, the teeth was from the gas station attendant.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, he pantsed the dude, took his boots, took his. He got the shit bit out of it. He got his clothes taken away.
You could have asked me, homie, was for my clothes. I would have given them to you.
But then Dana goes to the bathroom. She's sitting down. What do you think she's doing? Peeing or taking a shit? She said she had to go. She's like, I have to go to the loo immediately. So I think she had to take a shit. So
What? Babe.
so then she's sitting there, she singing her song or whatever. She's not really singing a song. But then you see the door open and Michael's walking in. He's like checking all the stalls, and then like you see Michael being like a peeping Tom, trying to catch a glimpse with his one eyeball. And then he's like hits the door and she's like, somebody's in here.
Ooh.
And then Michael steps away.
Pause.
What?
Does it ever explain how Michael's face got jacked up?
You have literally seen the Halloween 1978.
Okay, wait.
He has a hole in the side of his neck. He got stabbed by the crochet kit needle in the side of his neck, and then he also got stabbed in the eyeball by a coat hanger from Laurie.
That was in the very first
The
one.
very first one. You know this. I guess maybe you just
But you also
by a coat hanger when he was trying to get to Laurie in the first one.
he got fish hooked in the eyeball.
Anyways, Michael steps to the side and then he comes back or whatever, and he drops the gas station attendant's teeth over the side, and Dana realizes what it is, and then she pulls up her pants. Somehow she already... It took me a second to pull my pants up after doing my business, but...
Okay.
But anyway, she's trying to get under the stalls or whatever, and then Michael is like grabbing her and everything, and then Aaron comes in, and then he hits Michael in the face with a crowbar, which Michael takes the hit to the face
Like it was
absolutely nothing, which obviously it's Michael Myers, so it should. But at this time, as soon as that happened and he's fighting Aaron is fighting Michael, Dana should have just ran the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Stupid decisions by stupid people. I say that, then I probably would have just been like, I don't know. I would have just let Michael kill me. But anyways, he beats the shit out of Aaron, kills him, and then he kills Dana, and then Michael makes his way over to their car, and he gets his mask, and then after that, then we see Laurie, she's in her home, and she hears the stuff about the crash, the bus crash on TV, and then she starts getting her guns.
Her tracks and just starts going to immediately emergency crisis mode.
Right, and she starts getting her guns ready and prepared and everything, and then she goes over to Karen's house, and then Karen comes home, and then she hears some creaking and stuff upstairs, and Ray comes in and says, hey, what's wrong? And then hold on, I'll get there. And then Laurie pops out and she acts like she got a gun. She's like, bam, you're dead or whatever. And she's like, sometimes, Karen, I can't understand the difference between your ignorance and stupidity or something like that. Whatever
The
she
fact
said.
That mom like busted in, man.
And so yeah, she was already in there.
Calder's daughter flat out like, you fucking idiot. Be more prepared. I mean, but she's not wrong though.
For sure.
Well, she really should. She didn't have to pop out like that, man. Bam, you're dead. What?
Yeah, and then she's like, how did I get in? You had the window open, you have no security system. And then she also has a gun. She's like, the bus crashed or whatever. And Ray is like, he's like, I know jujitsu, I know karate. He's like,
I can take care of my own family. I took karate, I know jujitsu. I got this, man. I got this.
That's funny. And then basically Karen kicks her out and is like, you're not welcome to my house until you get mental help that you need or whatever, and pushes her out. And then we get the turn. It's the day Halloween. We get the 31st. It's Halloween night. We see Michael walking around houses and stuff. This little kid runs into him, and he's like, "Hey, what the?" And then he's like, "Sorry, Mister." And then you see Michael. They recreate part of Halloween 2 homage. Michael walks to the back. He gets a hammer, and he goes into the house and just walking.
Michael just pops into the neighborhood after he gets the mask. Right? And
No, it's the day later.
Yeah, I know. So, like, after he gets his mask, he's feeling all this type of mojo that he gets.
Why wouldn't he already have the mojo? He
Because remember
he
what
killed
I
them
said?
without the mask.
The mask amplifies it. So now he has his mask on. He pops into the good old neighborhood.
So you think it's Michael's mask that's making him do this stuff?
It heightens it. It's his sense of self.
It's an interesting theory. I think it's just more on the lines of Michael just doesn't give a shit because he's pure evil, which was the original idea and concept of the 1978.
I mean, as a woman who's studying psychology, I promise, it acts like as a sense of self.
Okay. That's an interesting take.
But hold on. So, like, he walks into the neighborhood and he just starts going at it. He's killing one person after another. And how many people did he kill in the neighborhood? Like 5.
No, he killed 2. Until he gets to Julian's house.
Yeah, to Julian's house. He was in the neighborhood too.
Yeah, but he hadn't got there yet.
I'm talking in total.
Oh, well, that's a whole scene itself.
That's like a whole pop-off of like bam, bam, bam,
yeah,
bam,
he kills 2 others. They basically recreate the scene from Halloween 2 because there's a shed. Michael gets a hammer from the shed, and then he walks into the old lady's house. In the original, Michael, all he does is just get the knife that the lady was using and walk out. But in this scene, Michael walks in there with the hammer, and you don't see it's off screen, but he kills her.
Oh, poor old lady.
With the hammer, and then he gets the knife, and then you see Michael walking in the house, and the camera's actually following Michael, and then you hear a baby crying, and then Michael stops and looks at the baby. You think that Michael might kill the baby, which would have made more sense. If he would have killed the baby, I think it would have been like, hey, Michael is just like pure evil, but he lets the baby live, so he has morals.
He is pure evil. He's
pure evil can have morals?
No.
Then why didn't he kill the baby?
Because he thought it'd be a waste of time. I don't know.
But then he is walking down he goes out the old lady's door, and then he's just looking around, inspecting and everything. And then he turns to his right, and then we see 2 characters. We see a nurse and a doctor. They're dressed up Halloween outfits. But those 2 people will be in Halloween Kills. And which is funny, which the way what they do with Halloween Kills, the black lady that is dressed up as the nurse or whatever, she actually sees the Michael, because Michael's just literally standing there, and she doesn't say anything or whatever. And then they end up leaving, and then Michael goes behind this other house, and it's basically a recreation of a scene in Halloween 2 as well, where Michael goes into this lady's house and kills her. But in this one, the lady's sitting, looking out the window on her couch. Michael comes up behind her, slams her head against the couch, and then stabs her in the throat. And then Michael's just peering out. After that, we get the scene of Cameron and Allison showing up to the Halloween party at the school.
Ah, the good old high school Halloween party.
Which I never had, but...
yeah, I actually never went to one. Like, ever.
I didn't go to parties. But then... So, and then they're partying or whatever. They're dressed up as Bonnie and Clyde, but it's a twist. She's Clyde and he's Bonnie. And they're having a good time or whatever. And then Vicky calls or whatever, and it's like, hey, she's like, I'm bummed, I can't go, or whatever. It's like, why don't y'all come over here so we can alakazam after Julian goes to bed or whatever. And then she's like, and she's gone for a while. And then we get the scene where Vicky is talking to Julian about everything. And she's like, Julian's like, I'm going to tell on you. You know, your friends are going to come over and do the alakazam. She's like, well, if you tell on me, I'm telling you about your browser history. So,
yeah, I think you better not.
So,
you in trouble. How old is Julian? Like, what little boy has a browser history?
Hey, man? I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
He is a little boy.
Hey,
what little?
Leave the boy alone. He's learning. It's for an experiment.
Shut up. That's so gross.
But anyways, he's like, if I had a good babysitter, be upstairs reading me a bedtime story, and I wouldn't be sitting here clipping my nasty ass toenails. And so she's like, okay, you want to be a good boy? Go to bed. And so she texts him in or whatever, and she's like, you're my favorite kid I babysit or whatever. And then you see her doing dishes or whatever, and or actually before that scene, we get Allison goes back to the party or whatever, and before that, you see Cameron and Oscar actually drinking and everything, and then Cameron is kissing another girl, and Allison sees this, and then she's like, "Hey, what the fuck was that?" or whatever.
Yeah, this motherfucker tries to play it off as if it wasn't nothing. Like she was just seeing shit. I
She
don't know
just
what
whispered
you,
in my ear.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought you saw, but it wasn't that.
It's like it just whispered in my ear.
And then she pulls out her phone to leave to call somebody to come.
No,
get her.
her grandma's calling her.
Oh, her grandmother's calling her. And then this motherfucker snatches the phone out of her hand
And throws it in a bowl of cheese stick. That sucks.
What the fuck is that?
And then she's like, "All right, I'm done." And then after that, we see
Guilty.
Then we see Vicky was doing dishes, takes out trash. Then we meet Dave again.
I guess Dave pops up and scares her as she's trying to take out the trash.
Yeah, I probably would have killed Dave right there, but
I probably would have swung. Not gonna lie.
but then they're talking whatever, and he got a tattoo. All it does is say the date. It's Halloween. It's Halloween 2018 date. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're so getting dry fucked tonight." And then they're making out on the couch. And then they hear a thud, and then she's like, "Hey Dave, will you go check this out?" And he's like, "Do I have to?" She's like, "Yes." And so he gets up, he goes, and then you see Julian come down. He's like, "There's some weird ass dude in a mask standing outside my room or whatever." And then he's like, "Can you call my parents or whatever?" He's like, "Send Dave up there first." And
send the motherfucker up there.
And then so Vicky goes up there with Julie, and she plays a prank on him, like there's someone in his room. She scares him, and then she texts him back in. It's like, "Hey, can you close the closet door?" Surprise, surprise! She goes to push it. Michael Myers is behind the closet door, and then Julian's like, "Oh shit!" And
yeah,
then
this was in the middle of when she was trying to like calm Julian down. Right after she played the prank on him of like pretending that somebody was actually in the room, making a whole scene. Oh my god, you need to leave right now.
Okay, so at this point, like you were saying, she was playing a prank on him, but now the prank is real because Michael's in the house. And Julian runs out. Vicky is trying to run away in this typical cliche horror movie thing. She's wearing socks, and she trips and falls.
I like how it like zooms in on the sock, and before she was falling, she was like, "Oh no, oops." And then she fell.
But yeah, that's just the typical horror movie trope. And then she's telling Julian to run.
It's always the blonde.
And she gets stabbed. You see her nails scraping against the wood as Michael's dragging her. That's a typical horror trope too. Or not trope, but cliche thing. And she gets stabbed and killed. Dave has been outside this whole time smoking weed. He's playing with Julian's dad's bike or whatever. And then he hears Vicky screaming. And then he goes in the house, and Julian's like, "Don't go up there, Dave. You're going to get killed." And then Dave's like, "Fuck this." He grabs a knife, and then he goes up there. But we don't see that kill. And then after that, on the police scanner, Laurie hears the domestic disturbance on the police scanner. And so she turns around and starts heading that way. And then Frank pulls up in regards of the domestic disturbance, and he goes around back, I believe. He doesn't walk to the front door. He goes around back, and he is searching the house. He's like, "Sheriff's Department, make yourself known." And then he walks upstairs because he doesn't see anything. And then he goes into the room that Vicky got killed in, and Michael has set up a scene. He's put the sheet over her, the bed sheet over her, and he's also put the pumpkin head or the pumpkin in the fish tank because it's set up in the first Halloween movie. Michael, not the boyfriend, that's Rob Zombie's. The boyfriend, Michael, puts a sheet over himself in the first one to get close to one of the girls to look like a ghost. And so he basically does that to her. And then Frank pulls off the sheet and sees Vicky's dead. She's just laying there. And then he's observing the scene. And then Laurie pulls up at the same time, guns ablazing. She's looking around. She sees Michael in a mirror upstairs in a reflection. And she shoots because she thinks it's Michael. But clearly that was a fucking mirror. But she shoots. And then you see Michael walking very slowly outside. And not outside. Outside the room where Hawkins is at. And down the stairs, and Hawkins shoots, but Michael's already down the stairs. So
I
don't know
wonder
what he's shooting
what
at.
Michael is thinking whenever he sees her after like 40 years. I wonder, like, do you ever think about that?
I mean, my whole thing is he's probably like,
Because we all know how Laurie is and like how she's.
maybe Michael's like, oh shit, it's you. I don't know, because even they make it more apparent in Halloween Kills that Michael was never after her, that it was Sartain's whatever you call it. It was his, I don't even know the word, but he was it was his obsession, not Michael's. And then Michael makes his way outside. Laurie is following. She actually shoots Michael in the shoulder, but Michael disappears into the night. Hawkins sees Dave pinned to the wall by his neck.
Yeah, with the butcher knife.
With the butcher knife, and then you see what his tattoo was, which is just the date. Halloween 2018. Such a weird tattoo to get. Maybe they were gonna have an orgy or something. I don't know.
He was gonna get dry fucked for it though.
But then Hawkins sneaks up behind Laurie, and Laurie smacks him in the face, and she's like, "He's here." And then at this point, too, the whole house is a crime scene, and we see Dr. Sartain and the sheriff pull up. And Sartain is like, oh, Laurie, and he's like, she's like, you're the new Loomis, and he's like, I've studied your case, I know everything about you and Michael.
He just looks at her like fantasized.
Yeah, he's fantasized.
Not
like
fantasized, like just.
It's
like
his.
He's fantasized this moment so many times in his head.
Right. So in my opinion, it doesn't really say anything about it, but I do believe Sartain was. He says that Michael overtook the first guard and then the bus crash or whatever. I think Sartain helped Michael escape off the bus so he could see Michael in the wild.
That's something that we'll never know how the bus.
They don't really say anything about the bus crash, but my theory is that he's the one who caused the bus to crash so Michael could get out into the wild.
That just leaves a big hole open for debate.
And then Laurie is just like, I prayed for this day to come. And Hawkins is like, or Frank, it's like, why would you do that? It's like, so I can kill him. And then after this, we see Frank and the doctor are talking in the car and everything, and the doctor's like, he wants to know what Michael must be feeling, how it would be like, is Michael like on a random path? Sorry, I got lost in my notes. Is Michael on like a random path, or is he triggered by something? Like, what's the feeling of killing?
Right. This is whenever they were talking in the car.
Right, and that and Hawkins Frank is basically like, well, I'm not gonna let the law stand in the way this time, and he's like, well, he is a property of the state, and he must not be killed.
Well.
And then also too, we see Oscar and Allison walking down the road or whatever. I guess, so she can go home, and then Oscar's like, hey, I know a shortcut. And then you also see the cop car behind them, like pass behind them as well. And then Laurie shows up to Karen's house telling her it's not safe and that they need to go to her house where it is safe, which, why wouldn't they just go to the police station? Like, I get going to Laurie's house because she, it's a whole trap and everything for Michael, but why wouldn't the cops take her to the police station? Like, I love this movie, but like, there's a billion like different things. Like, why wouldn't you just go to the police station? If Michael was, if Michael was really after her, he would still go after her in the police station.
Yeah, but they know that Laurie's house is the safest place for them.
But anyway,
it's the safest place for them.
I'm not gonna say I disagree, but and then they try to call Allison, but obviously Allison's phone is in a bowl of cheese dip. So she can't answer. And then we see Alice and Oscar, they're taking the shortcut that they took, and then Oscar tries to make a move on Allison. It's like, hey, you're not with Cameron anymore.
Oscar.
And she's like, well, that doesn't mean I want to be with you.
Hey.
And then he starts like panicking, freaking out. He's like, don't tell Cameron. And then she turns around, he like falls on the ground. She's like, dude, you're fucking pathetic. And she's walking away.
Flips him the bird.
And then he's like, I had all these. He's like, I got really drunk at the party, and all these girls were feeding me guacamole in all these sexy ways. How do you feed somebody guacamole in a sexy way? First of all, guacamole's gross. Looks like baby shit. How do you make that sexy?
I don't know.
That's disgusting.
Wait.
You're into what you're into, but still, that's gross. And then this is also the motion sensor scene, which I really like. Allison climbs over the fence, she gets away, and then Oscar turns around and he sees Michael behind a tree. He's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Elrod. He's like, I'm not trying to be on your property and everything. I just took a shortcut with this girl because I really like her and I thought she liked me, which he's pathetic, so she's definitely out of his league. But he's like, and then the light goes off, and then the light comes back on, and Michael's
he's still outside and laying in the yard.
Yeah, Michael's not there anymore, and he's like, hey dude, where'd you go? You're acting really weird right now. And then he turns and he sees Michael just standing right there, and he's like sorry dude. He's like, I'm leaving. He's like, what's your deal? And then the light goes off, and then the light comes back on when Michael goes to like stab him. And so he cuts him, and then he's trying to run away. Now, you gotta know Oscar was dressed as a vampire, so he's wearing a cape. And so when he goes to go try to climb over the fence, his cape gets caught on the bars of the fence because it's like a gothic-looking style fence in this person's yard.
Yeah.
He tries to get over it. It gets stuck. Michael comes up behind him. He's yelling.
Iron fence. And
then Allison's like, Oscar. And then she starts walking back. But Michael's already stabbed him. And when Allison gets over there, the lights come back on, and you see Oscar's face has been impaled. Like his jaw has been impaled by the iron bar or whatever. And then the spiked fence. And then she finally sees Michael, and it's like, oh shit, the boogeyman's fucking real. Like, my track shoes are on, and I'm out of there. I'm not stopping at anyone's house to ask for help. I'm gone. But granted, that's what she does. She's banging on people's houses, yelling for help, and someone does let her in. And also, too, you get the new score from Carpenter and adds in like a more brooding like version of the Halloween theme. And then
at this point, why wouldn't you leave the country?
Right, why wouldn't you leave the country?
You know, because that'd be the way to go for me. It'd be a lot harder for him to leave the country.
And then also too, it shows Karen, Ray, and all them pulling up. They're at Laurie's house, and then it jumps straight to Frank and Dr. Sartain picking up Allison, and Allison's like, yeah, he killed my friend, and she's like, hey, we're gonna take you to your mom. And so basically they're getting her to take to Laurie's. And then inside Laurie's house, they go to the basement, which is what Laurie built and everything. Karen and Ray go down there, and Ray's like, what is this? And she's like, my childhood. And then Laurie gives each one of them guns. She gives Ray a revolver because it never jams. Gives Karen a rifle because it's accuracy and stopping power. And then Laurie gets the gun I would choose against Michael, which is a shotgun because it's tactical. And she's like, he's waited for this night. I've waited for this night. He's waited for me. I've waited for him. Some speech. And then after that, it jumps back to Frank and the cop and Allison. And they're on the search for Michael because they know Michael's in the area. And then they see Michael, and Frank runs Michael over. And he's like, oh, don't hit. The doctor's like, don't hit him. He's like, Michael! This doctor is something else. And then they run him over. And so the doctor runs up to him or whatever. It's like, you've killed him. And he's like, I'm still gonna blow this motherfucker's brains out. Which
As he
should, yes, as he should. Like, all these people shooting Michael, why not shoot him in the fucking face? Or at least in the brain. And then what happens here? I want your thoughts after this happens. Because I don't mind it, but I know there are plenty of people that do mind this. So the doctor's like, you've killed him. And then Dr. Sartain pulls out a penknife, which I don't know if it's a real thing. Stabs Hawkins, Frank, in the neck several times. And then, which you assume, Frank is dead. And then Allison is seeing all this unfold. And then he's like, so that's what it feels like, you know, because he just killed, because that was his curiosity of like, what's the feeling, how does Michael feel after he kills somebody? And then he's like, that's what it feels like. And then you see Sartain pop up with Michael's mask on, and then Allison screaming, and he starts dragging Michael and throws him in the car. He's like, make room for my patient. It does sound weird. It's because he has the mask on. He takes it off, but I thought he was gonna be like, damn, how's he breathing that thing? Because I don't know if you ever tried a Michael Myers mask on, but it's hard to breathe in those things. And then he gets in the driver's seat, and he's like, these people want to kill this man for the crimes you've observed. Well, of course. No, that wasn't the thing on my mind. Why would I want to kill him? And then he's also like, whenever Michael wakes up, they'll be ready for the reunion, which is Laurie and Michael. So how do you feel about Sartain and what just unfolded? I wanted to pick your brain about that.
Sartain is a crazy motherfucker. That's all. He's stupid. I mean, and like his obsession, Sartain's whole deal was he's never spoke to anybody, Michael, and he's never communicated or anything like that, and nobody has ever seen him in a non-controlled environment. And truthfully, that's how you get the best kind of behavioral data. Is in non-controlled.
So do you think Sartain was right of trying to get Michael out in the wild?
Absolutely not.
Well, you just said that's how you get the best data.
But I'm logically thinking, I know that's where his brain is, right?
Okay.
But listen, there has to become a point of where, all right, this motherfucker killed, I don't know how many people. He should have been dead 40 years ago. Like, why the fuck are you holding on to... What's the point in helping somebody like this?
Huh?
There's no point. Why hold on to that? I mean, I get it. You want to advance, you know, the psychological science behind it, right? Because that's always the goal in science. But there has to be a line that has drawn between want of understanding and then just crazy shit. And with, you know, Michael, it's just time for him to die. 40 years.
The evil must die.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so after all that, we see the two other cops. They're sitting outside of Laurie's house or compound, and they're talking about a banh mi sandwich or whatever. It's a silly scene. I think this was Danny McBride type of comedy thing right here, which Danny McBride helped write this movie. He's a comedic actor. But talking about how they got a banh mi sandwich made it into a PBJ for his partner. And he's like, dude, I'm not eating it. It sounds gross. Which, it's bread and peanut butter and jelly. How does that sound gross?
It's just the type of bread because of the name.
Yeah, touche.
You're
but
the same way.
But then he tells the other cop, he's like, what'd you bring? This other cop has like a brownie and like some other stuff that he brought for lunch or for dinner or whatever, snack, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I would take the PB&J over the brownie and whatever else he had in there. And
I'd take the PB&J and
the kid is, I mean, the other cop is like, that's what a 5-year-old would bring for lunch if they got to make their own lunch, which is not wrong.
In his defense, he made those brownies homemade.
They're homemade. And then we see the doctor and them is driving. They're on their way to he's on his way to Laurie's house. The doctor's talking about how he's observed Michael over the years and how he's never spoken, and he's like, there's so many possibilities tonight, basically because Michael's out in the wild, so there's so many possibilities what could happen. And Allison's like, he spoke to me, and Allison's like, he spoke to me, and he's like, well, what did you say? And she's like, well, stop the car and I'll tell you. And it's like, what did he say? She's like, stop the car and I'll tell you. So he stops the car, and
no, she said, stop the car, let me out.
yeah, and then she'll tell him. And so he stops the car, and the other two cops see the car stopped, and they're like, hey, is that Frank or whatever? And because that is Frank's car. And the doctor is basically interrogating Allison and be like, hey, what did he say? And then Allison's just like, just let me out and I'll tell you. And then Michael's awake, and Allison's like, oh, fuck. And then Michael looks at her, and then he looks at the doctor, and then he's like, hey, Michael. And then Michael, the police divider, the cage thing, Michael breaks that. He pushes that in, slamming the doctor into the steering wheel and everything. And then the cops start driving up, and then you see Michael, he's pulling the doctor out. Allison's running out of the vehicle, which, smart. I'm glad she just didn't sit there. I'm glad she actually got out and ran off. And then the doctor is like, say something. And then Michael squishes his head like a fucking watermelon.
He's just so desperate of him speaking. Again, and I will say it every time. At what point? What is the line that has to be crossed between Michael living and dying? He should have been dead 40 years ago.
And then the other two cops, they pull up, and they're like, hey, Hawkins, respond. And they're like, hey, he's like, Hawkins, respond, you fucking burnout.
Okay, that was very insulting. I took offense to that. I'm like, oh, so rude, just because you're younger.
And so they pull up or whatever, and they're like, hey, you go this way, I'll go this way. And at this point, when they pull up, Michael is still standing there after he squashed Sartain's face. And then when they get behind there where Sartain's dead body is at, Michael is somehow already behind them, like a specter. Because Michael can teleport. And then we go into Laurie's house. Laurie is doing some stuff. She's turning out all the lights. She sees Karen. And she's like, Karen, the lights. Because Karen's in her old room from when she was a kid. She's like, Karen, the lights. And she's like, I thought we were safe here. She's like, well, you never wanted to listen to me when I talked about that night. She's like, you want him to come here. And she's like, I'm sorry. Basically, she's like, I'm sorry, like, how all this happened and everything. And then you see Allison, Allison's like running through the woods and everything. And then a little bit later, you'll see her end up running into all the mannequins that Laurie has put out. And it's like flashing all these really fast or whatever. And then Allison screams. And then Ray sees the cops when the cameras pull up because you see this is a honk or whatever. So my question was, Michael driving at this time? Or but Ray sees the cops car pull up.
Michael knows how to drive.
Yeah, for sure. But you just don't see Michael in the car. So did he like push it up, or was Michael in the car driving? I don't.
Do you remember the first one with Laurie Strode?
Yes, of course I do.
Her friend had this real.
It's like speed kills.
Yeah.
And then Michael stops and looks at him and it's like, all right, I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah.
So.
He got some driving skills.
And then he has better driving skills in Halloween 5, even though he can't hit a little girl running in front of him in a sports car. But anyways, Ray sees the cops. Ray sees the cops pull up, and he goes outside and he's like, hey, any word on Allison? And he's like, hey, any word on Allison? You see in the window, you see like it looks like a jack-o'-lantern, and then he opens the door and we get a human jack-o'-lantern, which is the cop's flashlight shoved up this decapitated head, which is pretty cool. And then Michael kills Ray with a wind chime, and then Ray shoots his gun, and Karen and
That's what it was.
Laurie hear it. What?
The wind chime.
Yeah, it was a wind chime. He kills him with the wind chime.
I thought it was like some kind of chain.
No, he kills him with a wind chime. You can see like the little thing on the end of it. And then Ray shoots the gun, and Laurie hears this. And Michael's outside, and basically they're walking down the stairs, and then Laurie closes the door because she sees Michael and tells Karen to go get down in the basement. And then Laurie locks the door, puts the deadbolt on there, puts the big ass bar in front of it. And then Laurie is basically puts her head up against the door, waiting for Michael, and she doesn't see him. And surprise, surprise, Michael's hands come out of the little windows in the door and grabs Laurie, and he's like slamming her into the door, and like I would have just been done right there, but I guess that's just me. But he's slamming her head into the door.
No, Laurie deserves to have a good fight left in her. 40 years of this torture.
No, she's like 60, 50. 60.
I don't give a damn.
Michael's like 80. I'm just kidding. No, Michael's like 60. Ooh,
do you think Michael and her were the same age?
No, they're not.
In the first one?
They're not. No. She's in high school. Michael's not.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, duh. And then, so Laurie's trying to fight or whatever. She finally like kind of gets like her hands free, and she pulls her shotgun back up, and she's trying to like get it over her shoulder. And then Michael goes and grabs it, and then she pulls the trigger and blows off 2 of Michael's fingers. And then Laurie, the basement, the island thing that goes into the basement opens up, and Laurie shows up. And then she goes down there with Karen, and they close the basement back up. And then you hear Michael enter the house, and then you see him just standing there with his now missing 2 fingers, and he's walking around, and Laurie shoots up because she can like tell where Michael's at, and she shoots, and you hear Michael fall on the ground. And then when she goes back up, and she's like, "Hey, I have to finish this."
Yeah, why did she shoot?
What do you mean, why did she shoot?
Weren't they hiding?
Yeah, but he was making... I mean, yeah, it's kind of stupid, but like...
Well, I think she was just trying to lure him down there.
Well, obviously that's a plan, because it's a trap.
I don't know.
But, she's like, hey, she tells Karen, I have to finish this, and then you see her walking around the house or whatever, and she pulls out a flashlight, because it's dark in the house. She goes to the closet in the living room, nothing in there. And then she checks the rooms at the bottom on the first floor. There's nothing in there, but she has like these gates that close behind her in the house. I wonder how much that stuff cost. Probably cost a shit ton of money.
Yeah, after she clears the room, she presses a button on the wall, and down comes like a cage gate.
Yeah. And then she sees the blood on the staircase, and she walks up and she checks one room, nothing there, and then there's only one other room to check, and it's where all of her mannequins are at. She goes in there. There's nothing. She sees the blood, and all these mannequins, when she was in there originally, they were laid down. I don't know if you caught that, but they were laid down, but all these mannequins have been propped up, and there's blood on some of them, and then there's blood leading to the closet in there. She opens up one side of the closet, and you see Ray's dead body in there, and she backs up, she looks around, then she opens up the other side of the closet, nothing, and then she turns around, and somehow, because now she's kind of panicking, because like it's like, okay, now where's Michael? And somehow Michael is this 80-foot tall Michael Myers. I'm just kidding. This like 6 foot something tall Michael Myers is hiding behind this mannequin. I still don't know how he hides behind the mannequin. I'm still very confused as many times I've seen this movie. And then he comes after her. He starts choking her with...
I don't think it's too hard. All the lights.
But like how
off,
big and brooding Michael is though. But Michael grabs her and starts choking her with her gun, and she kind of gets away, and he throws her gun. She pulls out a knife and goes to stab him. Obviously she misses, and then Michael's trying to stab her. She bites his hand to get away real quick, and then he stabs her, and then he takes her by the face and throws her off the balcony. You think Laurie's dead.
No, it's Laurie fucking Strode, man.
And you think she's dead because Michael's like looking at her, watching her. He's watching her, and then Allison comes into the house, and she's like, "Grandma, Mom," or whatever. And then Karen comes out of the basement. It's like, "Hey, come here," or whatever, trying to get her to come down the basement. And Michael looks behind him for a quick second. Then when he looks back down, Laurie's gone, which is they're paying homage to the 1978 movie, because at the end of that movie, Dr. Loomis saw Michael there, and then he turned away, and when he came back, Michael was gone. So it's just flipped. And then Karen gets Allison to come to the basement. They close it. And then at this point, Michael's heard this thing open and close several times. And so he basically breaks this island off the ground, and he pushes it over.
The kitchen island.
Yeah, the kitchen island, which is where the basement is at. And then
it's a pretty cool setup.
Karen's like Karen sees her gun that she had, and she's like, "I can't do this." She's like, "I can't do it. And she's like watching the staircase, and then Michael pops out, and she's like, "Gotcha!" And then she shoots him in the face, which I wish she would. I mean, if it would have been a one-off movie, I think she would have just shot him straight in the face, but no, she shoots him in the cheek. And then Laurie shows up, half of her face like shows up, and she's like, "Happy Halloween, Michael." And then she stabs him, and then he turns around, he smacks her into the stove. She grabs a pan and smacks him in the face.
The good old frying pan whackaroo.
And then Michael goes tumbling down into the basement where Allison and Karen are at, and they go up. Allison goes first, and then Karen's coming up. But Michael grabs her, and she tries to kick him down.
Oh yeah, thank God for Allison.
But then
slice and dice time.
Allison grabs a knife and stabs Michael's hands a couple times, and Michael kind of goes down. And then Karen, there's a little lever. Karen pulls this lever and then closes it, and these spikes come out on both sides to basically trap Michael inside, which, if it wasn't that hard to push in, wouldn't you just wait for Michael to come up and just use it on his head?
Honestly, they didn't really have enough time to stop and think, to dick around.
Well, touche, but...
I mean, they just did what natural instinct told them to do.
For
they
sure.
Stuck with the plan. Granted, though, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
at any given fucking moment, just stab him and just go.
Anyways, like, you just see they close it, and it's like, it's not a cage, baby, it's a trap. Which basically, that's all the setup was a trap for Michael. And then you see Laurie turning on all this gas and everything. Because basically they're burning the house down. She lights a flare, throws it down there with Michael, and Michael's just standing there while his house is on fire. He's looking up, and then they're going out of the house, and you see this house just burning down. And then they do like a the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre scene. Allison's like running to the road to get help or whatever, and so this truck stops, and then you just see this house burning, and Laurie and them are in the back of the truck, driving away, and then it zooms in on Allison and the knife, which. Well, at that moment, before the other two movies, you think that maybe that would have played a bigger part, but it doesn't really play that much of a part. The knife does come back in Halloween Kills and in Halloween Ends. I don't know if you know that. The knife that Allison was holding.
Yeah, I understand the first one. Or the second. And the Halloween... What's the next one? Halloween
Kills.
Yeah,
but Laurie is bedridden and the whole time in Halloween Kills. She's not even in the movie. But anyways, and then after that, the movie ends, but there is a credit ending, where you hear Michael breathing, so you know Michael is still alive.
Unfortunately, not this time. Yes.
It's not unfortunate.
Yes.
We needed another movie, and in the next movie, we get one of my dreams, which is just seeing Michael just kill everybody. Michael basically kills the whole town.
We haven't even gotten to that one yet.
It is 2024. The movie came out in 2019.
I didn't know if you're like dead set on.
No, I know we're gonna go over the movie. So yeah, that's Halloween 2018. My final thoughts are I have a really good spot for this movie. I honestly think this movie is like in my rankings. I believe it's like 2 or 3, and I know that's very absurd, but Halloween 4 is my favorite. But yeah. So I don't know if we did this on Joyride or not. I think we did, but on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate this movie? Where would you rate this movie? And we're gonna do this on the next 2
Probably
movies.
like a 4.
A 4?
Mm-hmm.
As bad? Jesus Christ. Oh, we're on a totally different scale. I would have to probably give this just because I have a spot for this movie.
I know what lies ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyways, I'm gonna have to give this movie. I'd probably give this movie anywhere between a 7 or 8 on a scale from 1 to 10. Probably like an 8, just because I really do enjoy this movie. I love this movie, and I just said I have a soft spot for this movie. And so, with that being said, so next week, so this episode is gonna be released on either Tuesday or Wednesday. And then whenever Halloween comes around, we're actually going to release that episode on Halloween Day, which is on a Thursday, I believe. But we're not doing a Halloween movie. Well, technically we are, but we're not. So we had Halloween 2018 this week. Next week we have Halloween Kills. And then the week after that we have Halloween Ends. And then we are doing a newer movie for our Halloween Day movie that I actually absolutely enjoy. And I've only seen twice, but I absolutely enjoy this movie. We're doing Totally Killer, which is a Amazon movie, and I very much enjoy that movie. And that is going to be our Halloween episode. And so you can find us on TikTok at What the Fright, and you can find us on YouTube at What the Fright. And also you can find us on Instagram at What the Fright. We do have Facebook and Twitter, but we do not really use those just because they're platforms. They're there, but if you really want to find us and everything, use TikTok, and then I will also try to upload stuff for Instagram and stuff like that. So really do hope that y'all enjoyed today's episode. I ran a little longer than I thought it would. But that's all right. Had a lot to talk about. For me, at least, I know once we get to Halloween Ends, I may not have as much to say. But that's just me. I know my co-host, my wife, might have a little more to say. But so yeah, that is our plan for this month. I do not have a plan for November. So if you watching this and listen, everything, if you do have any ideas or anything for what movies we might do in November, let me know. But I do kind of have an idea of what I would like to do in December. But we're gonna save that for later date. So I hope you have a good one. I appreciate anyone that listens and everything, and I hope that y'all have a good one. And we will see y'all. We will not see y'all, but we will. Y'all will hear us next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.